Welcome back. Today I'm going to try to play Puzzle Rush Survival on chess.com. If you're not familiar with that, you start off with easy puzzles and try to get as many as you can before you miss 3. Once you miss 3, you're done. I think my record on this is 33 or 34. It's been a while. Let's just see how far we can get. Oh, it says 34 right up there at the upper right. And I'm going to choose survival rather than the 3 minutes or 5 minutes, which are just really quick, and quickness isn't my strong suit. So let's click play without any further introduction. And usually the first few are easy. This one doesn't seem that easy, but it looks like I can just take this rook, and if they take back, I will also get the knight, I think. But is there a check here? There's not a check, so that has to be it. And then, okay, that was it. Usually the first few are checkmates. This time I'm playing with the black pieces. Let's see, if I check, I am playing with black here, right? Yeah, if I check, the king cannot come out one of these ways because of my king, so that would just be mate, I think. Okay, I'm playing with the white pieces. I think I have a checkmate right there. And here it looks like I have a checkmate there. They'll have to take with the rook, and then I'll take with my rook, and that will be mate. Because are any of my pieces pinned? No. Okay. I try to do the first few quickly anyway, even though I don't have to do them quickly, just so the video doesn't take that long. Their bishop has just moved over here for some reason. Can I trap the bishop? No, it just retreats there. Also, there's this. Let's see, do I have any checks? Oh, I do have a check. Is that mate? Yes, that's just mate, because the king cannot escape either way here because of the pawn, and none of their pieces are guarding that square. All right, what do we have here? Also, looks like I just have a checkmate here as well, since I am currently not in check. And here, it also looks like I have a checkmate. Nothing of the opponent is guarding that square. Now there's probably something over here. My bishop is cutting off those squares. My queen can check here, and they can't block that, so they'd have to go into the corner, and then I'll have a mate there on b2, I think. Oh, it just stopped there, even though that wasn't yet mate, because I think the king could have moved into the corner. What does that do? And that does not look like a free bishop because their knight is protecting it, so I can't just take it here. I can take this, and then when they take back, then I'll get the bishop, right? That's got to be it. All right. We're at 9, but again, usually these are pretty easy. Can you see the ratings there? We started at rating of 160, and now we're up to 590. I do have a check right here that is protected, and the king will not be able to get out of check because my knight is protecting that square. So I think that is a one-move checkmate. It was. The queen has captured a pawn here. Let's see, I do have some checks. I have a check here, but then the king could escape there, and then I think that will be checkmate on g4, because that will cut off, that will cut off that diagonal. I don't see any problem with that. That's the only check that makes any sense. Oh, it's the only check that I have besides those two, in which case the king would just capture, so. Okay, that was checkmate. Ooh, let's see, I'm going that way. Let's see, if I go here, and their king goes here, and I go there, and their king goes here, then I will just capture their pawn, and then I think their king wouldn't be able to capture my pawn or come closer. It would have to go that way, in which case I would come out of the way of my pawn. I think that's got to be the answer here. It doesn't make sense to go this way and maintain the opposition, because then I won't be able to approach that pawn. Right? I have to go that way. If I go forward, their king goes forward, and I end up trapped in front of my pawn. So I go this way, and then bring the pawn. Okay. Attacking my rook. What do I have here? Do I have a check? I do have a check. I also have a check here. Wait, if I check on g8, the king just captures. If I check on g8 and the rook captures, then I would have a check here, but then the king could still escape. Let's see about this. What if I check now with the knight? The king can't move, so the rook would have to capture. Then I can check with the rook, and when their rook moves back to block, I would take it, and that would be mate, I think. All right, and now I can't quite see, but I think we're rated in the 700s. Okay, their knight has moved there, and it's a free knight. I could just take it, or it looks like I have a protected check here, which would force the king over one, and then I would checkmate on d7. There are other checks like this one, but that's not good. There's also the check of the pawn, but then the king just gets in front of it. So I'm going to do this, and then this, and that's checkmate. Okay, oh, I have a pawn right down there in front of their king. That looks promising, and nothing's guarding that square, right, of the opponent, so I can just put my queen there because I am not currently in check, so I think that's checkmate. It was. What do I have? Their king is very well barricaded, so it is probably not something to do with the king. It might be something to do with trapping this queen. Let's see, if I bring this rook over, where does the queen go? Would have to go there, I think, to get out of danger, because it can't go here because my queen or knight, my e-knight would take it. If it took the pawn, my queen or rooks would take it. If it took one of these, my other rook would take. So I think f to b8, rook f to b8 looks like the best move. That leaves only h3. Oh no, h3 is also covered by my queen. And I don't think it's rook a to b1 because their queen would go that way. So I think it's this. Oh. Okay, I just got the queen for a rook. All right, in this position, their pawn is marching down. I think what I have to do is check. And then when their king moves out of check, which it would have to do either to the back rank or up here, and then I would win their rook. And then if their pawn moved, I would get behind it. I think that's the answer, because I don't want to protect that square by moving this pawn forward, because then their rook goes here, and I would probably have to take it, and then I couldn't stop that pawn. Because that's what I have to do here is stop that pawn. But I think the way that I do that is with check, and taking their rook. Oh, and that's as far as it went. Okay. Now we're at 960, and I've done this in 8 minutes. So the last time I reached a record, I think it took me an hour. Let's try not to do that this time. Let's see, their knight has just moved there. Do I have any checks? I do have... No, that's not a good check because their knight would capture it. That's not a good check, I don't think, because their knight would capture it. Those are my only 2 checks. Oh, wait. What about this knight here? Because I noticed their queen isn't defended, except for this knight. So if I were to take that knight first, if they took back, I would win their queen. So they wouldn't take back that way. They would take back with the other pawn, but then I would check here and win that bishop. Is that the answer here? I think that's the answer. I mean, let me look around, though. That's one capture that I have. I don't know how they would get out of check. I suppose they could get out of check by pushing that pawn or moving the king. And then, again, I would win the bishop. If they took back, I would take back with the rook, and I would be a piece ahead, I think, right? All right, let's see. Right now, they're a piece ahead. They have more pieces than I do, don't they? They have 3 minor pieces, and I just have 1. But I have a rook. So I think I have a rook for 2 of their minor pieces. And this would give up a minor piece for a minor piece, and then I would have a queen and 2 rooks for their queen, rook, and a minor piece. I don't see anything else. If I took that first... I assume they would take back, but then I wouldn't have any tactics. So I'm going to try this. That was it. And the only reason that I saw that was for this. So I'm going to do that. They blocked with the pawn, and then I take the bishop, and then I take the queen. And then I'm up 2 rooks to a rook and a knight. Wow, that one was actually pretty difficult for me, and that was only rated 1,000. So that's one reason that I do this, because when I only just solve the regular random puzzles, it's always giving me puzzles rated around 2,000, and I never get to go back and do the lower rated puzzles. One reason to do Puzzle Rush Survival or on Lichess Puzzle Streak is because you get to work your way through the lower rated puzzles that you normally wouldn't see. I'm playing with the white pieces. I'm up an exchange, a rook for a bishop, but I'm down 3 pawns. All 3 of those pawns that I'm down are passed pawns. They're all going. So what can I do? I can check. That would only leave their king 2 options. And then I would check with my other rook, which would only leave their king 1 option, which is in here. And then I would check over there, and that would be mate because my king guards those 2 squares. And this rook over here would be cutting off that entire file. I think that's the answer. I think I have a mate in 3 here. I don't think they can stop that. All right, they couldn't. Okay, I'm playing with the black pieces. This is a 1-move checkmate because my king covers those 2 squares. All right, that one was pretty easy, but compared to a couple of puzzles ago, I think I'm at about 1,100 rated puzzles now. Why did they do that? I don't know what they should have done instead, but this has given me an opportunity. Let's see what that opportunity is. I have 2, 3 checks. That check I think is pretty bad because the The king just takes it. I would have a follow-up, but then the king gets out. I could follow up and the king gets out. So I don't think it's that check. There is this check also, which does not allow the king out. The king has to come up here. But what about this check? I think that's it. Yeah. I think it's rook to e1 check, because that forces the king here now. And then I follow with queen to f1, protected by the rook. Sorry, g1, protected by the rook, which forces the king up one more. And then that's mate. And I don't think they can stop that. Okay, well, they have attacked my queen. Do I have checks? I do have a couple of checks. This is a check, but the pawn or the bishop could capture there, so I don't think that's it. I have a check here, but either the queen or the bishop could capture the knight there. I have this check. King would move there. Then I could follow with this check, but the king just gets out of it, and what would I have gained? I don't know. Let's see. Do I have anything else? I could capture this pawn, but that doesn't seem like a great idea, does it? Because then I guess a rook could come after me. Oh, but then I could take the knight. I'm not sure about this one. I don't want them to just take my queen. I'm pretty sure if they do take my queen, I would have a fork here, but again, the bishop would take, so I don't want to do something else that just loses my queen. Let's think about this. I also don't want to castle. How did that pawn get down there? That's ridiculous. I have an H pawn all the way down to H3, but it's trapped in between two of my opponent's pawns. Yeah, that distracted me for a moment, but... Oh. I just saw it. Wow, I'm glad I kept looking. Right there. That's checkmate. Because I'm glad I saw that pawn. I'm glad that pawn distracted me because I almost discounted it. But what is that pawn doing down there? Whoever made this puzzle put that pawn there for a reason. Because I don't think this is from an actual game. This pawn is guarding that square, and my knight is guarding that square, and my queen from over here would cut off all of these. And I think that's mate. Almost didn't see it. Now, if I had been solving a series of mate in one puzzles, I probably would have seen that sooner. But I didn't know if this was a mate in one or just a simple exchange. Let's see. The king went here for some reason. I'm not sure why it didn't capture my bishop, but because it didn't capture my bishop, I have a check here, protected by my bishop, and the queen and bishop would protect each other. And from there, my queen would cut off these squares, and it would force the king out this way. And I could check again at that point, but that would force the king that way. I mean, I also have this check, but then the king just takes my bishop. That does look like my best first move, is queen to d7 check. But again, forces the king here. And that's one reason that I think it's a good check, is it only allows the opponent one legal move. Instead of bringing my queen at that point, I could check with the pawn if I wanted to. But again, the king would just go that way. It wouldn't come... Oh, wow. Sorry, let me back up. Earlier I said I could go here and then here, but no, the knight is guarding that square, so I have to avoid going to that square. So if I check here and the king goes there, I cannot come to d5 with my queen because of the knight. So then maybe I would have to check with the pawn. That would leave the king multiple choices at that point. All right, well then I'm not sure about it. I could just take the rook right now. What about that? What if I took the rook? I assume the opponent would take back one of these two ways, and then I check here. Okay, this one is stumping me because my bishop is hanging right now 2 different ways, 3 different ways. So that's why I guess I could go there. Then what would the opponent do? They're not about to check. Oh, wait. Yes, they are about to checkmate me. The opponent is about to checkmate me. So if I don't do something about that, I'm in trouble. Well, that clarifies things a little bit. So I do need to check. But then that gives the king multiple options to get out of check. And I don't know how to follow all of them up. What do I do if they go there? Okay, this pawn is guarding this spot, so then I could come here and check if the king went to either one of those squares. Oh, but then if it went over there, then the bishop would be hanging. Oh no, it can't go there because the bishop. Wow. Okay. This one is taking a lot longer than it should. It has to go there. Follow with the pawn. That leaves the king only 2 choices. And if it goes back to b6, I could follow here with the queen, protected by the bishop. If it goes to c4, I come down here and check, and that may or may not be mate. Okay. That was it. It had to go there. We knew that, so I think it has to be the pawn. I don't think any other check at this point works, because again, if I stop checking, it's mate. Here I go here, and then the king has... Oh, then that's mate, isn't it? Because the pawn and bishop cover all those squares, and my queen would cover that one. Okay, well that was rated 1287, so yeah, clearly I need some work on some of these lower rated puzzles. I was going to say I'm down a couple of pawns, but no, we're even on material. The problem is that my knight is under attack, okay? I can threaten their bishop here, which would save my knight, and I think it would save the pawns, because they would want to move their bishop at that point. But where would they move their bishop? I don't know. Another option would possibly be to just move a pawn, because then they wouldn't take the knight then, because the pawn would be too close to promotion. So I think they would take the pawn, but then what would I do? Oh, and then I would move this pawn, and the knight would be cutting off that square, and the pawn would be cutting off that square, so they would have to come here, and then I would promote? Wait, does that work? If I go there, if they take the knight, then I promote. Okay, so a7, if they take the pawn, then I play c7. They can't get closer to it beside or in front of it, so they have to come back to where they were in order to get that pawn, but then it's too late and I promote. I think that's it. Does it work in the other order though? If I go there and they take, and I go here, oh, it works either way, doesn't? No, it doesn't, because the king would be out of the way and the bishop would get that one, so I have to play a7 now, I think. Wow, I'm kind of surprised I saw that one too. Ooh, now they're only one square from promotion. Okay, well, do I have any checks? I do have some checks. I have a check with the rook, which, is that mate? Because my pawn guards those two squares, and my rook would be cutting off all of this. This is just a mate in one, isn't it? Because I'm playing with the white pieces. Okay, and my pawns are going that way. So, pawn cuts off those two squares, and my rook, can they block or take? They wouldn't be able to take. Okay, still going. We're at 22 minutes. Wow. Ooh, did I just lose my queen? I think I just lost my queen. Let's see. Well, that's a check, protected by the knight. That forces the king here. There's no other choice. And then is that mate? I think that's mate. All right, because the king didn't have anywhere to go. My queen is being threatened by the bishop. I could take the bishop, and that would come with check. They would have some choices. They could get out of check one of two ways, or they could block with the queen. Is there a better way? Do I have any other checks? I do have another check down here with the rook on g1, but the king would move out of check, and then I would win their queen. That would be the only choice, right? Check? No, they would have two choices at that point. But if they went forward to continue protecting their queen, then I would have this check, and it wouldn't quite be mate, but it would be getting close. But if they went here, I would win their queen. Then if they took mine, then I would also win their bishop. Would that be enough at this point? Because this gives them more options. This gives them 1, 2 options, both of which would keep the rook from coming down, or blocking with the queen. If they blocked with the queen, then I could check with the rook, and they would have to move the king here, and then I could go there, and that would be mate. Okay, so if they block with the queen, I would have mate. But what if they went over here? Or here? Oh, then I would have this check. I think that's better, but I don't know. Oh, it was better. Okay, it didn't follow it out. This looks like I should just start advancing my pawn, doesn't it? Because or should I get in front of it? Should I get in front of my pawn? Let's see, if I get in front of my pawn, that's to keep their king from getting in front of my pawn. Because if I advance my pawn now, they go no, they can't go there. If I advance my pawn, what do? They could get beside it, but then I move forward. Then they move forward and I win the race. What do they do if I get in front of it? I guess they could come here, and then I would advance, and then they would advance, and then my king's in front of my pawn. So yeah, I think I just advanced the pawn. Okay, well, they still have to get out of the way of theirs, so I think I just run with mine. Let's see. If I go here, okay, then they can get in beside it. And if I advance again, they can get beside it again, and then I have to bring my king, and then I win the race, I think. So yeah, I think here I need to just advance the pawn. Okay, now do I bring my king, or do I advance the pawn? Which one is it? I think we already established that if I move the pawn, they could get beside it, but then I move my king, and then they can't get in front of it or beside it because the pawn cuts off that square and my king would be cutting off that square. What do they do if I move my king first? But if I move my king first, they move their pawn. But if I move my pawn first, I think they have to go forward, and then I can go forward, and I'm only 2 squares from promotion, whereas they're still 4 squares from promotion. Okay. Wow, that one was quite a few moves. Was that 6 moves? It was a lot. Okay, their queen has just taken something. That left their knight undefended, but what else do they have? Let's see. And also, what do they do if I take their knight? If I take their knight, what can they do? I guess they could bring a rook over to threaten my queen at that point, but then I could check them and then they would take, and it looks like it's just a free knight, but I don't know if it is or not. Is there something else? Can I like perhaps move my knight here, but then their queen's just going to go back and protect their knight. Oh no, if I move my knight, they get a free bishop. So I think I'm just going to take the knight. Okay, they did move a rook over. Then if I try to fork them, they could take my bishop, but then I would take their rook. Is that it? That might be it. Oh, they took my queen that way. Oh, well then I'll take their queen this way. And then put my knight back. Oh no, now my bishop's hanging. Okay, well then do I take the bishop? I think I take the bishop and then gives them a choice of which one of these two they want to take at that point. Okay. That one was also pretty hard, but that one was rated almost 1600 according to the growing chart of puzzles solved over there, that giant list of green check marks. Okay, I'm playing with the white pieces. Do I have any checks? I do not have any checks. I don't have any checks in this position. Okay, do I have any captures? I do have this capture. I have this capture. The first one on d4 looks like I just lose a queen. I don't think I get anything out of that. The other one, bishop capturing on f5, it looks like I could lose a bishop one of two ways, probably with the rook, because they need their queen to stay here guarding this rook. So if I take here and they capture, that doesn't make any sense. What about moving the pawn forward? If I move the pawn forward, I suppose they could take it with the knight, but then I could take their knight. If they took back, then I would get this rook, and I would have gotten a rook and a knight for a pawn and a rook. So that would have been good for me. Obviously, if they took, they wouldn't take with the queen, but if they moved the queen out of the way of the pawn, then I would just win this rook. If they moved the queen out of the way this way, then I could keep moving the pawn. Oh no, if they moved the queen out of the way this way, then I could take this pawn. No, because then their rook would come back. Oh, but then I could move the pawn forward again. No, because their knight's guarding that square. That looks like what I have right now is just this threat, moving this pawn forward. And again, they could take here and I could take, and if they take back, then I would win the rook. I don't think it makes sense to take the rook first, because then they take, and if I move the pawn, then they could just get in front of it, and I've lost a queen for a rook. So I'm going to move the pawn first. Hopefully that's it. That was it. Okay, they did take with a knight. Well, then I think my series of events makes sense. I just win this rook. Okay, that one was rated over 1600. Once again, queen threatening my queen. My queen is undefended, but their queen is defended. However, their queen is defended by the only piece that's protecting their back rank. So I think I would have a mate there. So I think I need to take their queen and then check them on the back rank. That has to be it. What else could they do if I take here? Would they be able to checkmate me in some way? Wait, what if I did that and they did this? That would be check. Would have to come here and they could check again, and I would have to go back, check there, and I could go to the corner and they could check there and that would be mate? What? Wait, because they don't have to leave the defense of their back rank. That's disturbing. If I take their queen and they check me, I definitely don't want to go into the corner because their knight coming to f7 would be mate. So I would want to come this way. They check to me again. I could get out this way to e7. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, they did check me. And we already discussed that I have to go this way because if I go the other way, that's mate. So I have to go this way. They checked me there. Now I have to go this way. Well, because I can't go the other way. That's the only legal move. Okay, well, the last one was my only legal move, so I'm not sure why it was part of the puzzle. I think here I'm threatening mate in 2. Can they get out of that? If I move here, what can the opponent do? Oh no, if I move there, they'll take the bishop. Oh, okay, well maybe I shouldn't go there. Should I go here, threatening mate down in the corner? Can they do anything to stop that? I guess they could take the bishop, but then I would take their rook. Yeah, I don't want to go to h6 because they just take the bishop. So if I go to h4, I'm threatening mate in the corner. Their king can't move out because by then my queen would be covering these and the bishop's covering that. If they went there, it would still be mate in the corner. So what can they do besides take the bishop? I think that's the only thing they can do. I would take back and I would go up and exchange because right now we're even on material. So I think it's got to be that. It wasn't that. Okay, well, maybe at the end of this, I'll come back and check that one. Oh, I've made it to 31 already? Oh my, I'm just 3 short of my record, but I've missed the first one. Oh no, that's disappointing. Well, I have a check here protected by this bishop down here on d3. I check queen to h7. Nothing of theirs is guarding that square. They would have to move over one. Then I could check on h8, but that would force them to come up. Wait, check here, move over one, check here. They have to go to e7. Then I would win their knight. They would have to go back. Then I don't know what's next. I think, would winning their knight be enough here? Or wait, I have a question. What could I could check with the bishop first. If I check with the bishop first, they could come over, but then I could just move the bishop and it would be check again by discovery. So I could, for example, move the bishop back here, and when they moved out of check, I would win this bishop. But they wouldn't have to move in front of it. They could move over then, and I wouldn't have a follow-up. So I think it's got to be the queen to h7 check to start with. And I think my goal has to be winning the knight. I don't know, after I win the knight and they move back, I don't know, do I go back to the corner again? I don't know, but we're going to try it. Okay, then I think it has to be this follow-up check, which wins the knight. I think. It's the only thing that makes sense. Wait. Could check with the rook now. And they couldn't go back because my queen is still there. But they could come forward. Oh, then they couldn't go there because of my queen. So they could go that way. But then I wouldn't have a follow-up check. So yeah, I think it's got to be taking the knight with my queen. They go back. Now when I check, it's mate because my rook's guarding that square. The knight's not in the way anymore. Oh my goodness. Yeah, these are definitely getting tougher. And we're around 1800, I believe. Okay, they have just played there. I think I have a checkmate here that doesn't look that difficult. They don't have any pieces guarding f2. And that would be protected by my rook back here. So the king would have to go over. And then that wouldn't be mate because their knight's guarding that square. Now what I was thinking was I would go back here. But they have 2 pieces protecting that square. So that can't be it. That could be the first move. That would force the king into the corner. And then that would be mate. On e1, no, they would block. They would block with one of those 2 pieces. But when they blocked, then I could take. And when they took back with the other one, then that would be mate. Wow. I think that's got to be it. Oh, it just ended there. Okay. Well, it's a good thing that I went that way instead of the way that I had originally planned. Okay, we are not even on material. We have the same number of pieces, light squared bishop for a dark squared bishop, and we each have a rook, but the opponent has 3 extra pawns. That looks bad. However, their king is in a bad way. Because I'm playing with the white pieces, right? Isn't that just checkmate? Because they can't come out. They can't block. Wait. That's mate, right? What would they do? Wait, is this also mate? No. They could block with the rook if I went there. And then if I tried to take, their pawn could take. Okay, so I think this is just checkmate. Is this puzzle really rated in the 1800s? Let me just be sure. Their bishop's not guarding that square. Their pawn can't go that way to block. They can't move forward because the rook would be cutting off those squares. They can't move backwards because their pawn and rook are there. And they can't move here because my bishop's cutting that off. That's just checkmate. Why did that take me so long? It took me so long because it's an 1871 rated puzzle. And they shouldn't be that easy, but it looked easy to me. We're now at 34. If I get one more, I've set a record. So please, let's get one more. Do I have any checks? I do have a check. Wait, is that mate? No. King would go there. But that's my only check in this position. King would have to go to g1. And I could follow up check with the rook. But then the king could go to whatever square that is, f1. And then I could check with the bishop. But then the king can come out this way. If I put the rook here first, like if my rook was already on g8 and it was my turn, that would be mate because my other bishop's cutting off those squares and my dark squared bishop would cut off these from this whole diagonal, right? And then my rook would knock that off. So what would happen if I put my rook here first? What would they do? They would take my bishop. Okay. So maybe it does have to be the check first because my bishop is hanging. They've just put their knight there to attack my bishop. It's just moved. Okay, so let's look at this again. Check. They have to go there. But I definitely want to get this puzzle right to set a new record. I was honestly surprised when I realized that I was over 30 already. But now this is confusing me. Okay, so I think it has to be bishop to d6 check, but I don't know how it's going to turn out. I might have to see how the position changes after that, and we might get this wrong. Oh, we got it right. Okay. Well, the only follow-up checks in this position are rook to g8 or bishop to h2. But we already discussed bishop to h2 just loses a bishop, and then if I bring the rook over, they'll take my other bishop, and I'll be down. If I check with the rook, we've already discussed they'll move over here, and that's where I got stuck. I don't know what to do after that. I mean, currently my bishop is cutting off those two squares, so the king would be kind of trapped down there. But again, if I'm not checking every move, they're going to take that bishop, and this whole threat's going to be over. But I think it has to be g8, rook to g8, which forces them to f1, and then I have no idea at that point. Yeah, this is what took me so long, is getting to this point and not knowing what to do. But what is it? What is it? Let's see. What if I put the bishop here now? I know I could put the bishop there now to protect this square from my rook. But if I do that, they take my bishop. I take back with the pawn, which cuts off the same two squares as my bishop used to be cutting off. And then I'm threatening mate in one. Then what can they do? Maybe that's it. Maybe instead of checking with my bishop, which allows them to come in here, maybe I put this bishop down here threatening mate. They take, I take, and I'm still threatening mate with my rook down there, and they can't move the king. I think that's it. Hopefully it is. Okay, it has to be this, because if I check with my rook first, they get out. Yeah, they know mate is coming. 35. That's a new record. Thank you if you've made it this far. Okay, I have a check here. No, I don't, because this is rook. I mean, I do, but that's not it. Ooh, what about this check? That's nice. And that bishop is pinned. So that's mate. No, it's not mate. Wow. If I check there, they can't move out of check, but they can block with this rook, which they would have to. And then I would take it. And they would have to take back. And then that's mate. 36. Oh my goodness. And I'm not yet at an hour. Okay. Well, I feel like I've made some progress, or maybe they've dumbed down some of these puzzles. I don't know. All right, I'm playing with the black pieces. I do have a couple of checks. There is a check here, which forces the king to the back rank, one of those two squares, or they could block with the pawn. They could block with the pawn. And this check just loses my queen, so I don't think that's it. They also have a check here, but I think I could block that with a pawn. Yeah, they could block that with the pawn or move out of check one of two ways. So that may not be the best answer. But those are my only two checks, right? No. There's another check here. Okay, is that better? Is that somehow better? Because that one, if they block with the pawn, then I take this pawn, and that's check again. It would force them into the corner, and then I would be able to start chipping away their pawns. So that's a little better. I almost didn't see that, but they could still just move out of it to there, which would protect this pawn. Then what would I do? I couldn't check again because their queen's protecting that square. So yeah, so what I know what to do if they block with the pawn, but what do I do if they just move out of check? From there, I put the rook here, aiming at the back and at their queen. I think that's it. $37. Oh my goodness, am I going to hit 40 today? Oh, now I'm a little worried. If I go too far on this one, then my next one, it's going to take me months to break this record. Oh my. Okay, well, I do have a check down here with the rook on f8, but their rook takes that. And then I could take again, but then their king would take, and I would have lost two pieces for a rook. I don't have a check with the knight. My bishop is not on the kind of color that can see their king on a light square. But maybe I could threaten something here, right? Does that threaten mate? None of the captures make sense. Also, if I move my knight to there, their bishop just takes it. If I move my knight here, what does that accomplish? I'm thinking I should play rook to f7, threatening rook to g7 check, which would not quite be mate because it could still go in the corner. But I think I would be getting close at that point. What do they do then? They can't check me right now. Their knight's not close enough to check me, and also just like them, my king is on the wrong colored square for their bishop to check me. Their rook is stuck behind a pawn. It would take a couple of moves for their rook to get around to checking me. Okay, so I don't know what they can do if I play there. I guess they could move a pawn or something, but then I'm still going to check here. Oh, and then I'm going to win their knight, and they're going to be in check again back there. That looks like my best move is the threat of checking. Well, it wasn't. That's my second miss. Oh my. Okay. Well, maybe it's going to end here pretty soon. Hopefully when it does, I'll remember to check those puzzles that I missed. Well, I do have a check and a check. I have two different checks. I'm not counting this one because their queen would just capture my queen there. If I check here, where can they go? I guess they could go up here or any square that's not on that diagonal. So they'd have 5 choices. Same thing with here. They would have 5 choices. Do I have any other checks? I don't think I do. I'm not in danger of being mated just yet because I can get out. And we have the same number of pawns, and our pawns look kind of locked up. So yeah, those are my only 2 checks. Not counting this square, not counting D2. Either one of the, I'm gonna say D5 just because it's closer. Usually with the queen, usually closer is better unless the other one is a fork of some kind. This was not a fork. Neither is the other one though. And the other one I think gives me less access to the board. If I put my queen in the corner and they move to one of those 5 getaway squares, then where can I go from the corner? But from here I have lots of access to the rest of the board. And I'm part of this pawn chain, I think. Queen to D5 check. The king goes there. Oh, if the king went there, I could check again in the corner, but then their queen could block, and then I think we would be drawn. So I probably wouldn't want to check in the corner because the queen would block and I would take it and they would take back. And the rest of this is a draw. I can't get my king out. I'm just going to shuffle my king back and forth between these 2 squares. Or I guess I could go here and threaten to trade off the bishops. But I think that has to be the first move. I don't see anything else. If it doesn't go there, what else is it going to do? You know what though? If it does go there and they move out of check, I think this could be my next move. No. I was going to say my queen there might help with it, kind of a thing there, but it really wouldn't. They would just take me and I would take back and then they would check and then I would have to go in there. I don't know. Oh, and then they would go here. And when I took, they would have a passed pawn that I couldn't catch. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and do this one. I feel like I've already broken my record, so I'm happy. If I miss this, I miss this. Oh, I didn't miss it, and they did go in there. All right. Well, we already discussed why going to H1 isn't the answer because they would block with their queen, and I would take their queen, and then they would take my queen, and then I would put the bishop here, or would I go there? Or should I go there now? No, I shouldn't go there now because their queen's on that diagonal. Okay. Well, that is my only follow-up check, is it not? Let's do it. Okay, that wasn't it. But that is my #1 longest streak of all time. It says my previous streak was 31, but I'm pretty sure I have a video where I got to 34 before. Okay, I checked that right before I started this video. Okay, well, I'm not yet at an hour, so I'm going to start with the one I just missed and open that in a, can I open that in a new tab with a control click? Okay, that did open in a new tab. Is that cropped correctly? Okay, play that. I got the first move right. And then that was the incorrect second move, which I thought that it was, but I don't see anything else. I don't know what else to do. Oh, should I go here threatening something? No, that doesn't make any sense. I'm just going to click the hint button. Oh, it was... I never would have guessed that, but it makes sense, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Because yes, the pawn is pinned and I would win their queen, but then they have a... What? Wait, would I be able to catch that pawn? Take that. I assume they would take back. I would take their queen. They would advance this pawn, and I can't catch it. I can't catch that pawn. And if I move toward it now, that's mate. Is it saying I can catch that pawn? How would I catch? Oh, I can catch the pawn because I would still have my bishop, and my bishop can come back here. Yeah. Oh, wow. That one was rated 2150, so that one was kind of difficult, but just to replay the idea that after this check, I'm supposed to take this because that pawn is pinned. So I take that. When they take my queen, hoping to promote after I take theirs, they can't promote because I can get back to guard the promotion square with my bishop. All right, let's go back to the previous puzzle that I missed. The 2065 puzzle, control-click opens that in a new tab. This one started with them taking a pawn here, and I was incorrect about putting my rook there because I thought I was threatening something here. But that wasn't it. So it was something else. I'm pretty sure it was, whoops, I'm pretty sure it wasn't threatening the rook. Oh, I guess I could take that pawn. It would be protected by the bishop, but then what? Or should I have gone here threatening that? Maybe that's what I should have done. I should have gone here threatening that. If they moved to protect that, then I would win the knight. That was it. Oh, and then they went over here with their rook. I'm not sure how to get out of that. Because if I move my knight, they take the bishop, right? Well then what do I do? Do I go here? Oh no, go there. No, that doesn't make sense. What if I go here? Then if they take my knight, I get their bishop. And if they take my bishop, I get their bishop. And then I'm up a piece, right? Oh, they didn't take it. Oh, they want to trade here. Oh, but if they take back, then I get the knight out, right? Okay, well, I figured that one out without any hints this time. Okay, not too bad. And real quick to replay that, I don't know what was so wrong with this, but this is apparently better, that I just win the knight right off the bat. And then I had to come up with a creative way to save the piece that I had just won, to save that advantage. They did this way to kind of force a trade, but it doesn't matter because either way I end up with the extra piece. They can choose which one of these to take, and I still have the extra piece. And the other one gets away. Okay. The first puzzle that I missed was the 1750 one, way back here. I don't even remember what happened here. Oh, they just moved that pawn. Seems like what I did here was bring the queen back, and that turned out to be wrong, right? Yeah, that turned out to be wrong. Okay, so that wasn't it. What was it? Just to save time. It was moving the rook over to the corner, threatening this. Okay, well, if I had done that, they would have taken the bishop. But now that the bishop's gone anyway, I can still threaten this, right? Or I can just take the rook, right? And then I'm threatening mate in the corner. Oh, they checked me. What, I get out of check, don't I? I just get out of check. And then they give up their queen. Okay, I'm going to go to the analysis side of this, and the first move was that. What was so wrong with this is what I want to know. If I go here, that drops the eval bar much further the other direction. It says because they would still take here, and I would still take, no, I wouldn't take there. Really? Why wouldn't I take there? That's what I thought I would have done, because they're still going to check me, and now I can't get out. Now, because the rook's not over there, so I can't go that way. So I can only go to these two squares. It says king to h2, and that's probably what I would do. And then they would play rook to e6, threatening my queen. And then why wouldn't I check them? I would check them. And then they would just come up. And then I'm up in exchange, but somehow black has a huge advantage. Because now I'm supposed to threaten their queen, and then they're going to check me. And then now I'm going to get out, right? Oh, it says no. It says to go that way. That's weird, because I would go this way. And then now it says they would play here. Okay, they have two pieces aiming at that. Oh, it says now I have to give up my queen. Really? So that was the problem with what I played. What I had to do first was move the rook over. And then they're going to sacrifice for the bishop. I'm going to take the rook. And then they're going to check me. I'm going to get out of check. And they played queen to h5 to block the rook's path. And I took it. And that was the end of the puzzle. Okay. Well, hopefully you learned something from going through this. I'm very pleased with my performance, even though these three puzzles tripped me up. But that's going to happen at some point in this run. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.